Anybody you can talk about in history that had to do with the Northwest, they were here. Whether it was Native Americans, Lewis and Clark, Hudson Bay, Oregon pioneers, everybody going east, they all came through here and they all had some story.
What's it feel like to keep that legacy alive?
Oh, yeah, it is cool.
Can you tell us a little bit about where we are and what we're sitting on?
Well, you're where they would call the wheelhouse. But so there would have been a large wheel in here, and it would have ran cables or lines all the way back to the rudders. And that's why they had, where you see a large wheels, was in order to get leverage. I mean, because you're spinning these lines and having to move your rudders, which have water going over. So they're just not sitting there in the water. The wheel is hitting those rudders. The wash of the wheel is hitting those rudders. So they're wanting to stay straight. So you're up here trying to get an advantage on them. So they're big wheels that usually operated here in it. This boat, so the boats of 1850s when boats were starting being built, and there were mostly folks who came across over the Oregon Trail, folks in the Midwest, from the East Coast, where people came from all over the world, basically here to come west. Because a lot of these, when you look at the history of the steamboating out here, the names and the people are from all over the world. They're just not the local folks. They're from everywhere, and so they had plenty of timber in here. They used cordwood. Didn't have any coal. There wasn't any coal. Wasn't anything out here burned. So they used cordwood, and a cord's 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet. They could burn as much as 40 cord of wood in a day's operation. So these guys, so my great-grandfather and grandfather's jobs were important jobs. These guys really, there was a lot of timber went down here just to fuel these boats. Mm-hmm. So it ran off of steam, and that steam was generated from all this timber you see around us here. They went after the easiest thing for them to get, and there was plenty of it here. Boats started out like anything. They're transporting people and goods. And so that's where they started out with that, then established portages and went on from there. Now this boat, what they did is the port of Cascade Locks. My dad was on the port. He was on it for 30 years. And him and Port Commission, so these are just citizens here in the town. What they were going to do is they were going to build a tramway up to the top of the mountain up in here. And there were folks who didn't think they should be building a tramway up there, so they fought. They had gotten themselves I think it was a $700,000 grant from the federal government to help build that. They got it blocked, and so they said, but they went to the government and said, well, okay, well, let us hang on to that a little bit longer, and they were gracious enough to do that. And then they came up with another idea. Somebody presented them the idea of a paddle boat, and they went, okay. So then they started planning for a stern wheeler. And the neat thing that I find, because I've been around my life, so I love the boat and I love everything that goes on out here about it. But the people who are involved in it, our steering system was Ray Matthews Marine. Back in the 80s, they were one of the best steering systems in the whole country. They ran ferry system. They ran their most reliable steering system in the country. Brought in Ray Matthews, and he came in personally. It wasn't like his workers came in. He came in personally to make this thing. Don Hudson was the architect. It was a personal thing for him. Dick Nichols out of Hood River. We wanted to keep the money local, so we went to a yard in Hood River that built barges. They'd never built a tour boat, built barges and tugs and all that, and they got the contract. And Dick Nichols, who was the owner of that company, same thing. It became very personal to him. So all these guys who were involved in the building in the boat were pretty close to the end of their lives. Many of them didn't last long after the boat was gone, but it became a personal thing for them. And this boat has been built. It is built stout. Oh yeah, as far as tour boats go, or as far as I'm concerned, as far as boats are built, this thing is they didn't mind overbuilt. It was $2.5 million back in '83 to build the boat. And it was pretty. It wasn't finished. The interior was all just like a framed house. It was just all steel ribs, steel decks, and then so '83 is when it came out. But in the later '80s, they finally did the interior once they got making some money.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things they would have liked to have done. They didn't get to do because they ran out of money. But what they did do is they did put together, they didn't scrimp on making a really solid, great vessel.
Yeah.